Hola, beautiful humans. Welcome to another episode of the First Gen Healing Podcast. My name is Priscila Luna. I am your intuitive prima and the host of this podcast. And today I wanted to do a little bit of a different episode with you porque as we are going through these roller coaster times, these times that are impacting our community, that are forcing us to face things that maybe we don't want to, that are making us look in directions that maybe we ignored, paralyzing us, and then pushing us into action. I feel like it is going to be so important to learn how to cultivate peace for yourself, even if it's just tiny moments at a time. I think it's going to be so important to know how to ground yourself and how to create a space for you and your inner world as you are maybe taking up more space in the outside world or learning how to navigate it as it's constantly changing. So this is something that when I have one-to-one clients, I walk them through because I feel like it sets the foundation for the inner work. And in these moments, potentially you won't have the space or the bandwidth to do the inner work, but I think that it's still worth connecting with yourself. It's still worth grounding yourself so that you can sustain whatever it is that you have to do in your day to day and processing in your mind and in your body. One of the things that I'm going to do is for my previous community, the First Gen Healing community, I closed that out, but I had created for them this online space where I had put together a couple of mindfulness practices with recordings as well as downloadables, and also how to create a space for yourself and for your inner world. So I'm going to put that in the description of this episode, and I'm also going to walk you through some of the things that I mentioned, and I can kind of walk you through it. So one of the things that I love to encourage people to do is to pick scents that ground you. And a scent can be so important, especially as you start to build a relationship with it, because it can ground you in moments that maybe you don't know how else to ground, or it could just be such an easy way to make your body remember the feeling of feeling more at peace, feeling more present in the now moment. When I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and so maybe, in these moments you are feeling that, peppermint was such a good scent for me. And oh my gosh, I'm just thinking too, like some of us, when we get really anxious, driving becomes a little bit harder, or there are certain activities that can make us feel a little bit panicky or anxious. So if you don't already practice this, please listen in, porque I think this is going to be really helpful. It helps me in the moments where I start to get back into the momentum or the feelings of anxiety and things like that. So yes, a scent is going to be super important. You can do eucalyptus, peppermint. There's so many essential oils, and you can find, for example, I know at Whole Foods they have a ton of them, but even Marshall's, Ross, I know they have those también in like the bath self-care area. But if you don't want to do essential oil, you can also do something like sage or palo santo, or a candle that you have that just has a certain scent. The only thing is, ideally, it should be a scent that you can take with you. So it could be a lotion. Algo que te recuerde of the space that you're going to be creating with yourself. And I'll talk you through, some of the practices you can do. But as you start to do those more consistently, and the scent is going to be a part of that, then wherever you are, if you are feeling, anxious, if you're feeling like you're too in your head, if you're like floating away, and you need to be grounded instantly, then that's how the scent is going to help you. Like I said, for me, it's usually peppermint. So I usually have it in my purse, and I have one by my bed, and anywhere that I go, I have my peppermint in case I need it. And then when I'm at home, I love the scent of sage or palo santo. Either of those scents, they truly like ground me. I feel like they clear away some of the busyness in my mind, and they can be really helpful. So that would be one of my first recommendations when it comes to tools, I guess, that you can use during these times to ground. It's not a practice. It's nothing that you have to remember. It's literally like, oops, I'm feeling something, or I feel activated, I'm feeling triggered. You can pull out your scent and just smell it for a little bit and breathe into it and allow for that to ground you. The other thing that I would recommend is, if possible, to literally create a physical space for you and your inner world. When I was sharing my space with a lot of people, I used to have like a little bookshelf. Actually, at some point I had it in a closet. So I just created a little space in a closet where I would go in, close the closet, and I would like be there with my velita, with affirmations stuck on a piece of paper, with a journal, you know. But if you have more space than that, then you can have like a bookshelf that's covered or that closes. If you're watching the video version of this, if you see that little bamboo kind of furniture in the back, that's currently my space, my little altar, let's call it, where I can close it and no one can see it. But when I open it, ahí están mis cosas. So finding a physical place that you will visit, hopefully on a regular basis, is super, super important. When I work one-to-one with clients, they resist this. I'll recommend it literally in meeting one, and right, they don't do it right away. They're like, yeah, I'll create something. But it's once they start to see the results of like maybe some of the grounding practices that they try it. And when they do, they actually really love having a space for themselves and curating a space that has no influence from others. So I recommend that you start to identify what would be a nice corner or a little spot in my room or anywhere else, and start to come to that place on a regular basis to kind of meet yourself and ground. And actually, before I continue, I wanted to mention maybe what brought about the idea of doing this mini episode. I was talking to a friend of mine and she was asking me, like, what grounds you in these moments? She's like, because I know that you feel them, I know that you process them and that you care, but you also seem kind of grounded. And so, um, when we were talking, I mentioned to her having been in a lot of spaces where I saw a lot of people walking in their truth and feeling like a lot of hope from being in rooms with so many people like that. But then when I got home, I started to think, and I was like, honestly, more tangible than that, because that's not accessible to everyone. I was thinking, like, it's actually been the day to day practices and the things that I've leaned into. So then that's how my idea of like sharing this with you guys came about. Because in these moments, I imagine that there's such a mix of things that are happening within all of us that we may feel like, our self-care, our grounding practice, our inner work can go out the door because it feels less important than everything that is happening. And to a degree, I completely understand. And at the same time, I have worked with different people que are also burning out as a result of not having any type of grounding or committing to anything within themselves or for themselves. So that can also essentially lead you to a burnout that then you won't be able to backtrack from. And we're trying to prevent that, or we're trying to at least ease some of the things that your body, you might not even realize, is going through, because your mind is so activated, your nervous system is so activated. So yeah, I wanted to give a little bit of background in regards to that. Okay, the other thing that I recommend that you start, since we're talking about the space that you're creating for yourself, and again, there's a downloadable like PDF that you can just have for yourself in print if you need more like tangible instructions. Pero I recommend that you start putting in there like maybe things that naturally ground you without any effort. It could be something that brings you joy, um, like right away by looking at it. So for example, maybe I would put, if you're watching the video version of this, I would put my little mushroom lamp. My mushroom lamp instantly brings me joy, instantly grounds me in the present moment. But every time I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love it. Or maybe for you, it's a picture of a loved one, or loved ones, that kind of grounds you into who you are, into your present moment, or into a memory that grounds you, that brings you that sense of comfort. So do anything like that. I would say welcome it into your space. So yeah, definitely like pictures in mine, for example, in my little space that I have. There was a time, I think it was 2021, yeah, when I was in nature, hice unos honguitos. I spent some time pues with the hongos, and in that, I remember I felt so connected to earth, and I collected some twigs, some rocks, and some like tree bark, and so I put that in a little canastita and I have that in my space. And that is also something that grounds me. And so as I go to this space on a day to day basis, I tend to focus on something different. Maybe one day I completely don't see certain things that are in there, but one thing grabs my attention, or one thing grounds me, or just gives me a sense of peace. So if possible, if you have access to creating that space and putting your things in there, just a couple of things, I think that that's a beautiful thing to do for yourself and for your inner world. And because this space is going to be for your inner world, I I definitely recommend either a picture of you when you were younger at an age that is not triggering for you, or a picture that doesn't trigger memories that are not peaceful to you. So you want to make sure that the picture that you have of your younger self is one that brings you peace, or that makes you feel okay. Um, and then if you don't have a picture like that, then a picture of you at any point that brings you joy. Then I would definitely bring in a journal of some sort, something that you can write in. And the intention does not have to be that every time you sit there, you have to write. Actually, the intention is to make it a space that can fit any mood that you are in. So maybe one day you feel like journaling, the other day you feel like meditating, the next day you feel like doing something physical. We'll talk about maybe potential other things you can put. But I feel like that should be the intention, is like, how can I make it not feel like a chore, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Porque sometimes we can make it feel like a to-do, a chore, and so then it also brings us away from wanting to show up into that space. So that's why we're bringing in like pictures and scents, and maybe we'll talk about textures next, but just things that invite you in and make you want to be there and show up on a regular basis. Okay, so I mentioned like a notebook or a journal. This is my current one, and I think it's so beautiful. Clearly, I'm into shells right now. Pero again, think of it as something, as an option, basically. If you're feeling like stuck, if you're feeling blocked, if you feel like you have a lot of thoughts in your mind, or you can't verbalize, then sometimes writing things down is a really great way of allowing that to flow through. And I have another option for you. Even if you don't feel like writing, you can literally scribble, and that will help your mind and your nervous system. That's something that I discovered, which is kind of interesting, as I was doing more and more intuitive work, and sometimes I didn't have the words for what I was trying to express. I started to just get a piece of paper and a pen that I didn't care about, using too much. And then I would just start to scribble, up, down, sideways, swirls, and whatever I felt like needed to come through. It wasn't obviously words, and yet it almost felt like it helped me process. And as I was scribbling, it's like this meditative process that gets initiated, and you're able to kind of get through the whatever it is. So basically, have pens in your little space, have a notebook, have a space where you can write stuff. And because sometimes I attract, eldest or perfectionist, or sí, yo creo que eso. I've noticed that a lot of people think of journals as something that has to be kind of formal, or that has to make sense or look good. And I want to remind you that none of the above. It does not have to make sense or look good. It can look ugly. It doesn't have to go in chronological order. If you know what a brain dump is, you can literally do a brain dump on there. So sometimes I will go to my journal and put like, frustrated, annoyed, and then put blue, lo que sea, like whatever comes to my mind, I'm going to write it down and just allow for that to flow through. But give yourself permission basically to mess this notebook up however you need. If you feel like doodling, doodle. If you feel like scribbling, scribble. Feel like writing paragraphs, write paragraphs. But create a space for that part of you. And I promise you, it's going to help you, okay? I know there's a lot of resistance for us, no sé por qué, but I walk through this with literally every single person. I've even the people that have come into my sessions and are like, give me homework, I'm ready to do the things, the first couple of weeks they resist it. They're like, oh, actually I didn't do it, or I did but only once. It's okay. Give yourself permission to build up towards, trusting yourself, because that's literally what it is. And allow yourself and give yourself that time to build that self-trust. But that self-trust is going to be so important during these times. Another thing that you can bring into your space is a book, porque sometimes obviously no tenemos palabras y ni siquiera queremos hacer nada. So sometimes hearing other people's words is going to be helpful. So for example, the book that I currently have in my little space se llama Muchas Vidas, Muchos Maestros. It's by Brian Weiss. But you can have whatever book you want to have in there. I have other ones that I've had. There's one about like being an empath. I'll try to include a link to it in the description, because I think a lot of us that are empaths don't really know what that means, or like how to take care of ourselves as empaths. And imagine during these times when we're consuming and seeing and witnessing so much, I think that it's important that we start to learn about how to take care of ourselves and our emotional bandwidth y todo eso during these times. So I will put that book in the description también. And another thing that you can have in there for my fellow open-minded humans is some decks. So I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I have, just because I've never done it on the podcast, I don't think. And I think that it would be cool for those of you that maybe have been feeling the call to get one, to learn a little bit about it. And I will tell you, for me personally, I was the only person in my friend group that had a deck in the beginning. And now I've made more friendships, that are open to having like decks and things like that. I think in our communities, and because we come from, like me, a Catholic background, there's a lot of stigma around these things and what they mean. And of course, use your discernment and whatever you feel comfortable with. Y lo que no, pues no lo hagas, you, at the end of the day, this is your life and your practices. So don't lean into anything that doesn't feel good. Always trust your intuition, even if it's coming from someone that you trust. Okay. It's totally okay for your body to be like, nope. And for you to be like, oh, my body said no, even if everyone else is saying yes. That's literally the whole point, is what does your body and intuition say yes to, and following that. Okay. So this one here, my goodness, you guys, I am going to recommend to all of you that listen in and are starting to reconnect with your intuition, but also are kind of zooming in and out of your own personal experience and then the collective experience. I think that we've talked a lot about healing in the episodes of this podcast. So typically we focus in, right, on like the person's story, and then like we try to tie it to the first gen story. But then there are some of us, I think, that beyond that are also thinking, I think, or zooming out even more. And it can be really harsh to witness that all and to feel it. I imagine some of you también, like me at some point, I used to grieve a lot. Grieve how we messed up the human experience so much, because it could be so different. The thing about awakening and healing is sometimes they give you access to and contact with how it could be so much better. And for some of us, that's actually like the magnet that keeps us moving forward, right? So for example, when we are going through our own family dynamics or our own internal issues or feeling lost, it's almost like sometimes the being able to tap into how it could be different is what pulls us out. And then though, there is this grounding moment that happens that makes us see the distance between where we are and where we think we can be, or where we think the world could be. And so it's so weird, because it's like this ongoing relationship that we have with a perceived future that we're having a hard time like really ground in the now. And so sometimes that distance between how it is and how it could be can make us feel frustrated, lose patience. It could make us even feel like what at once inspired us can then hold us back or can then make us depressed and things like that, so it's like very interesting because we're tapping into we're literally bridges. That's what I one of the astrologists that I listen to says, like, your generation is a bridge generation, and I resonate with that, and I feel like we are bridges. We're one foot into the now and to like the generations prior to us, and how like the conditioning that our families and we have received and society, and then we have another foot out in like trying to tap into what's next for us and how can we get us there, right? So I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but this is the deck. It's called Earth Warriors, and I wanted to mention the difference también between maybe an oracle deck and a tarot deck. So if you're on this path on your own and you're a Latina, Latino, Latine, and you're debating with yourself, like, is this safe? Should I try it? I'm being called towards it, pero da un poquito de miedito. And then a veces when you go into these really eclectic stores, like hay diferentes cosas. Hay cosas que maybe they feel really light and airy and comfy, and others maybe feel a little bit darker and your body says no right away, right? And so it could also be a little bit como this internal debate. I remember that at least happened to me when I first even opened myself up to the possibility of getting a deck. I was excited, I was scared and nervous, and it almost felt like, but I was definitely in the moment in my life where I was like, I'm gonna listen to my intuitive nudges and I'm just gonna, go for it. So it was actually when I was living in Tennessee in a tiny town called Seymour. Feel free to look it up. I don't think I've ever actually shared the exact location of where I was, pero ya no vivo ahí. And there was this new agey store in this little town, and I went by myself and I made kind of a day of it. I remember I went to go grab a coffee, and then there was like this little pond next to it. So I walked around the pond and then I went into the store, and I allowed myself to kind of explore this store for the first time, porque I think if I would have brought in a family member with me, they would have been judgy, like, ay, mira, y tienen esas cosas, y mira, eso se ve del diablo, and, cosas así. So it was really nice and neat for me to kind of give my soul this experience and be like, hey, I know, like, we've been listening and tuning into people that maybe like are more connected to this. Let's try it out, And so I went in, and I definitely wanted my first deck to be in person. So this was the basically advice that I had heard in the past, was that you should look at the decks and then like tap into your intuition and see what calls your name. So that's what I went in and I did. And so basically the difference between oracle and tarot, I want to mention to you because maybe one feels easier to go for than the other. And for me, it did. Oracle decks are kind of like a message of the day. So you typically only pick out a card or two for the day. Y son como un overall mensaje. Like whether it is to inspire you, to make you think, like a journaling prompt. There's all kinds of oracle decks, but they're not telling you like your future or anything like that. Okay. I see them as decks that hold a lot of wisdom. And the first one I got was this one, the Earth Warriors Oracle deck. I thought it was so beautiful, and it's actually kind of huge. But I'm going to open it so that you see some of the cards. And I'm also going to link my ¿cómo se llama? The storefront, the Amazon storefront, porque ahí I've had them linked for a really long time. Because people sometimes ask me like, oh, what's that deck? And where did you get it? So of course you can also get it in person at stores, but it has really beautiful cards. I'm showing you some of them in the video version of this. And essentially the point of these is for you can keep it in your space that I've been mentioning, and you can pull one out, let's say in the morning or at night, and maybe it could be a starting point for you of like what you can write in your journal or reflect on today. And I think this deck personally is very much aligned with what is going on. Um, because it's a reference to where it speaks to people who feel the things, who care, who want a better future, and who are not only doing the work for themselves, but looking into doing work with others, in whatever way that may be. So I highly recommend that one as a starting point if what I just said resonates. Otherwise, there are other maybe oracle decks that are even less como they're still as deep, but maybe it's not tied to like doing work with others. So this one is one of them. It's called Magical Spirit. It's another oracle deck. It's not tarot, and it's absolutely beautiful. Actually, I think this could be a starting point for the majority of people, like regardless of what you're where you're at. It has beautiful, beautiful art, and it's light, not too heavy of mensajitos. It reminds you of a lot of beautiful things. It makes you reflect, especially if you're on a healing or awakening journey. I think you would really enjoy this one. So I highly, highly recommend it. I actually got it because I've been following the artist, which is Alexis Raccoon. She's not Latina, I don't think, but it's Alexis Raccoon, I don't know. And she then came out with this, and her art is absolutely beautiful. So I recommend it también. Okay, so those are two oracle decks, and so now I'll show you what a tarot deck looks like, and it's a little bit of a different intention. So this one is called the Earth Woman Tarot. Another deck with beautiful, beautiful art. It's funny. I feel like I'm doing like, well, I am. I'm essentially reviewing these for you. But honestly, creo yo que sometimes it's really cool to hear things from fellow First Gens, fellow Latinas. Obviously, you guys know that, right? You know that I think that way. Pero I just like, y'all, when I was going through this path, I felt so como lonely and alone. Estaba in Tennessee by myself. And so I was out there going through all of the downloads, epiphanies, transformations, things in my head and my soul. And I would have loved to hear this from another Latina, like, oh, here are some decks you should try, and it's okay to do it, and it's normal for you to feel scared, but like curious and stuff like that. So hopefully I get to be that for some of you that are listening. But again, always listen to your intuition. Don't just do it just because, you hear me say it. Pero, okay, the tarot deck, first of all, art is amazing in this one. Me encanta porque it's diverse. Some of the decks that are out there son de puros güeros y güeras también, y como que eso no va. But this one has, I think, a pretty diverse selection of people in there, and it's faceless people, but I love that it includes that, or that was part of the intention. It's also kind of magically in nature in terms of like the art in it. But tarot, the intention is a little bit different with it. Okay, so I would say tarot isn't maybe like mensajito of the day, although some people do use it in that way. They'll pull one card and just see the energy of the card, they read it. The majority of decks, make sure you look into that, especially if you're new. They come with a little booklet, and that's definitely, you want that, a deck with a booklet, so that it gives you like the reading or the message of the card. And again, like, since this is tarot, for example, it's just one paragraph of a meaning, and it's pretty short, as opposed to the oracle deck. It's like 2 pages sometimes, and it really like gives you like kind of a backstory. No sé, como que has a different intention, like I said. And with tarot, you're kind of building a message, and so you're pulling multiple cards. You're really relying on your intuition. I personally did dabble into tarot, and I used it even in my internal community, the First Gen Healing community that I had created. I would offer them like tarot readings, just here and there. Les mandaba un reading, and it was really cool because I feel like it's kind of like when I would tap into a mensajito for them, I would just sense, kind of where they're at and where they needed to head in certain aspects or areas. And the community members really enjoyed that. Actually, they tended to resonate a lot with it, and it kind of like gave words to some of the things that maybe they were experiencing but didn't know how to express. So yeah, if you feel comfortable with the word tarot and with doing this with with yourself or for others, then I would say this is such a beautiful deck to do it with. It's one of the most beautiful ones that I have come across. And I'm sure there's a million out there también. So there's so many different types depending on what you like. And let's see, I have so many other decks that I want to share with you porque definitely como que me piqué when I started this path, pero I will leave it at that. Maybe if you want more recommendations, feel free to reach out to me. Um but that's just definitely another thing that you can bring into your space. And if I'm being really honest, it was one of the most helpful things that I had in my space during these moments. I mean, everything is kind of helpful, pero to have kind of like this moment of wisdom, that you get to read and that you get to reflect on and that grounds you. It was super, super helpful in the moments that I felt really lost. And I imagine a lot of people right now are feeling that lostness or that lack of grounding, or como que se, like maybe you had a vision for your life and right now it feels like that vision is being taken away from you. This can be really helpful to kind of revert back into grounded, into the now, the present, and then go from there. Um, and then last couple of things, let's see, to mention that you can do in your space, bringing in some textures or just something that makes you feel comfy, whether it's like a little como teddy bear o algo así, or more como a blanket or a pillow, things that are going to make you feel comfortable, because being in your own presence is uncomfortable. Hearing yourself out, especially in the beginning, can feel uncomfortable. Feeling your feelings, so many of us nos escapamos de eso. We want to run the other way. Maybe we feel the feeling come up and we don't want to feel it, so we get distracted. We bring our phone. We start. And so this space, really the intention is like, how can I stay here at least 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes where I'm giving myself the opportunity to flow through whatever needs to come through and not distract myself and not escape it, because as you are kind of processing, that it gives yourself space to regain that energy. Like, okay, let's do this one more day. Tengo energía, it kind of like taps you back into the unlimitedness of you, of your energy, of your power. And I think that that's going to be so, so important, obviously, all the time, but especially during these times. I don't want to forget also mentioning a mirror, un espejito. So whether you have a small mirror or maybe a full body mirror next to your space, I recommend that, because here's the thing. One of the things I think that we feel is unseen, right? During these moments, by others, and sometimes in our own personal journey by our loved ones. And if we go even deeper, by ourselves. So many of us, especially the crowd that I tend to call in through this podcast, we are so good at seeing others, at witnessing others' pain or happiness or special moments, but we're not always good at doing the same for ourselves. We don't cheer for ourselves as loudly. We don't applaud for ourselves as loudly. We also don't show up for ourselves as strongly. So sometimes we're super unconditional with others. Call me if you need me, whatever time, I'll be there, and we sometimes like como que we're preemptively there and we're trying to in some ways soften other people's experiences, and yet we don't always know how to do that for ourselves. And so when you bring in a mirror into that space and you are a witness to you, even just saying, hey, I'm here, hi, I love you. I know it may sound silly in the beginning, but the reality is that a lot of us don't spend a lot of time with ourselves. And when we see ourselves in the mirror, we see imperfections, we see what we don't like. And so we're constantly rejecting ourselves. And I think it's super important for us, if we're not receiving that acceptance and that validation from the outside, especially in these moments, it's so important for us to receive it within ourselves and for ourselves. And you know why? Porque when you do that, then you have space and energy to do it for others from a place of fullness, from a place of extra, not from a place of I'm running empty and yet I'm going to give you the last bit of me that I have so that hopefully you see me. you're going to come from such a different place. You're going to come from, I see myself, I love myself, I show up for myself, and now I have enough space to show up for you and see you and hold you. And that is such a different way of showing up for others. And it's a more sustainable way of showing up for others. And that's what we need. People who are grounded and can sustain this rhythm of that they're going in. Everyone plays a different role, by the way. If you're listening to me, I mean, I don't know that you'll make it this far if this doesn't resonate. But if you're like, I can't do that right now, don't do it. It's okay. This may serve you and plant a seed for the future when you do need it, or when you are like when you're at a different point in what is happening. We're all here to play different roles. This is just one of the tools that I know and that I want to share with you. And I imagine there are so many other people that have picked up so many other tools and that can share them with you también. So listen to yourself and your body, etc. But I will say spending time with yourself is so, so powerful. I have witnessed it firsthand with myself and with other First Gens también. This doesn't come from spiritual bypassing. This doesn't come from like reading it in a book and like, oh, let me recommend it. No, this comes from lived experience of myself and others that I have worked with. And so that's why I believe in it. And I feel like it's important for me to tell you that you might resist it for a bit in the beginning. It might be exciting to collect the things to put in your space, and then you might not go to your space for the first week or 2 or month. Pero when you do, try to be consistent about it, whatever consistency looks like for you. And I promise you, it's going to make a difference and a shift in how you feel with yourself and then with others. Okay. Lastly, I'm looking at these two crystals that I have in front of me. If I'm being very honest, no conozco mucho de los crystals, pero I do find them to be like super beautiful. And I think because I'm into this kind of stuff, people started to gift me little crystals in different, like for different reasons. And I love that. It's funny porque I wasn't someone that was like a crystal person, let's say, but people knew that I like maybe meditated or just like was a little hippie, a Latina hippie. And so friends and even family were like, oh, te compré esta cosita, oh, mira, eso bien bonito. And so now I have a little collection of crystals. And so I bring some of those into my space too. And I think that they are beautiful. They can help you ground también, and you can set different intentions with them. But again, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And if it doesn't, then, don't bring it into your space. So in terms of creating your space, I think that is all that I'm going to share. I don't think there's anything else. It's like create a space that feels good and looks good to you. You can bring in little lucecitas, just make it a vibe for yourself. Okay. And now I want to walk you through maybe some ways and things that you may notice and how to manage them as they come up. Because I think that will be important. And I'm going to walk us through a visualization or a meditation at the end of this so that if you need an idea of what to do, you can do that as well. But like I mentioned, I'm also going to open up like the access to the Mindful Practices website or site so that you can access that también, porque ahí está como different breath works and I think a meditation and a visualization. So when you show up to space with yourself, moments with yourself, you can listen to music if you want to, but make sure that it is lyric-less music, okay? No lyrics, no distractions. So lyricless music, but basically when you start to spend some time with yourself, different things may come up. I tend to pay a lot of attention to our body, and when I work one-to-one with people, I tend to sense sensations in the body. Depending on where you're at in your journey, maybe it's easy for you to identify what's happening in your body. Maybe it's not. Okay. So depending on where you're at, maybe when you sit, you can tune into what mood am I in? What am I feeling right now? And you can start there. Kind of ask yourself questions. It could be like you're talking to a prima, a primo, a prime. Hey, how are you? How have you been? And you can look into your mirror and start responding, or mentally responding, or grab your journal and start responding, or even without saying anything, sitting there, start speaking to yourself and start to just allow for things to happen. Things that people experience when they start to spend time with themselves. You may receive a memory of something that you didn't even know you remembered. And so then you can grab your journal and start journaling about it. Or maybe you get this memory and your stomach starts to hurt. You can like place your hand over your stomach and just allow yourself to sit there and see, like, am I feeling emotion? Am I feeling sad, happy, angry, stressed, anxious? What am I feeling? You can breathe into your body, into the area that you're feeling activated. Maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's your back or your chest or your throat. It tightens up. So you can breathe into those areas. Um, when it comes to the stomach, so a lot of us hold our anxiety, and I would say first gens hold a lot in their stomach and their lower abdomen area. And that's because if you think back to maybe like childhood, a lot of us had to stomach our emotions and our true thoughts or ideas or anything, porque we had to be kind of the peacemakers or the responsible ones. And so anything that maybe our bodies naturally felt, usually we shoved it in and we kind of like didn't express it. So the stomach area is an area that you may feel activated or triggered when you're sitting. And so my recommendation there would be just to place your hand there and maybe date un masajito, breathe into it, see what's there. You can see also or try to see if you can sense a color that's tied to what you're feeling, a texture. Is it honey-like? Is it like a feather? Is it like molasses? What are you feeling in in that area? And then you can do a little prayer over it or a little journaling into it, a little intention for it, lo que tú quieras. Another area that I tend to see a lot of first gens hold energy in is their shoulders and their upper back. So if you feel like when you're sitting there and you're maybe doing whatever you're being called to do, you might feel the weight of your back or the weight on your shoulders. And that's because when we witness things that make us scared or make us feel like we need to enter survival mode, I think a lot of first gens throw that on their back and they're like, okay, this is mine to carry and I'm going to figure it out no matter what. And I imagine that in these moments, many of you have done that already. Te tiras encima lo que sea. Like, okay, now my aunt is my responsibility and my dad and my sis, like you're putting all of that pressure and all of that on you. And first of all, man, te mando un abrazote porque I, yeah, te mando un abrazo. You deserve that and so much more. And as you're holding all of that, you're going to have that tension on your back. So I want you to think about when you enter this space, if that's what you're feeling even right now, or when you're sitting there, think of yourself as just setting it down for the moment that you're sitting there. And it's okay to do so. Okay. Let yourself know it's okay for me to put it down just for a little bit, just for these 15 minutes. I will put it back on because that's what feels safest for me right now. We're not going to change that for you. I don't want to tell you like, oh, and leave it there, right? Like, no, en estos momentos, all of you are playing different roles within your families, within your, communities, within your friendship group. So whatever feels comfortable for you, we're not going to try to change it, but we are trying to allow yourself to take a break from it. Okay. So visualize when you're sitting in your space or whatever or laying down, lo que sea, visualize you taking off costales from your back or whatever it comes up. Like maybe for you, it's bricks or maybe it's rocks. Like try to tap into what am I feeling on my back and can I take it off, and take it off gently, put them down to the side. They're going to be right there next to you. Se van a quedar ahí por un ratito. You're not removing yourself from the responsibility, and then do whatever you feel called to do for those 10 to 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And then you can put it back on if you would like. Okay. If you are able to. Another area that you may feel really activated, and man, this whole episode I have been feeling it, is in my throat. When you like start getting more into this, or maybe you're even more educated than I am, but there's our chakra system, right? Our energetic system. And our throat chakra is literally right on our throat. And a lot of first gens I have encountered, including myself, pues obviously we were taught calladita te ves más bonita. And even beyond our own familial systems, we knew that in order to survive in this society, we didn't have to cause a ruckus. We didn't, we had to stay under the radar, right? So it's natural that it's hard for us to use our voice and that it gets kind of like shut down, especially in moments like this that are so triggering, and it's kind of putting in our face things that we've always known, right? So I'm going to recommend that if when you are journaling, meditating, sitting down, lo que sea, you start to feel your throat activated, first bring water with you if you can, so that you can sip on water. But second, you can also place your hand over it and massage it or just kind of like soothe it. You can also, if you're feeling the courage and maybe the inclination of like, I feel it kind of closing up, but I want to speak anyways. I want to learn how to use my voice, or I want to not shut down. I love you for that. And you can start humming when you're in your space. Before I had really found my voice, there was this really special moment. I had been showing up to my little corner for months. Like I started to do it every single day or every other day in the mornings. And there was this moment where I felt naturally the desire to hum. And so if you're feeling activated in your throat, you can just, whatever comes through. For me, it was so interesting. It was like, no say, that's just what wanted to come through right now, right? But it does not have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a song. It's you connecting with your voice and with your throat and working yourself through that. You're not yelling, you're not screaming, you're literally humming. It could be quiet and get louder, whatever it feels comfortable. But that could be another area that is going to be really good for you to work through and work on. Okay. También your chest area can be really, sometimes it can feel, especially as what we're witnessing, compressed. Like there's a 100-pound bag over your chest. Um, I needed to take a deep breath for that también. So definitely you can take a deep breath into it. You can envision removing whatever is on top of you and putting it on the side, just for a second, breathing into it, placing your hand over it, rubbing over your chest, soothing yourself. Maybe you can breathe a heat pack or an ice pack and just paying attention to that area if that's what's feeling activated, okay? So these are things that just may come up as you're starting to spend time with yourself, and it's important for you to know how to navigate them and how to address them. And you can't mess this up as long as you show up for yourself, as long as you're there for yourself. I mentioned in the beginning of this that one of the reasons I decided to do this is it was inspired by a conversation with a friend. And one thing that I want to remind you guys of that I did share with her is that sometimes in these moments, it's kind of like we sense a tsunami of emotions coming our way and we keep running and distracting ourselves away from it. And that's okay. We need to do whatever we need to do to survive. But if you are able to be intentional and come to this space and you feel that wave coming, I want you to remember that splash, that big wave that feels like it's coming your way, if you allow for it to flow through, it should only last about 90 seconds at the intensity that it is, and it will always transform. That's important for you to know, because I think like if sometimes we're feeling like, I don't want to cry, or I don't want to cry that hard, or I don't want to feel that much. It's good for us to know you won't stay there. It will fluctuate, okay? And it's kind of like if you feel it and you're down, you're going to get on your floaty and you're going to navigate it y se va a calmar, okay? So you can have some peace in that, knowing that it won't stay at that intensity forever. Whew. Okay. Lastly, I would recommend that you kind of have a routine for yourself. If you're going to open up your space when you're sitting there, you can maybe light your candle, smell your incense or your essential oil. Like it's kind of like a ritual of sorts, or a routine. Pues you show up to your space, you smell your scent, you go into whatever you need to or feel called to do, and then before you get up and go on with your day, I recommend you close the space out. So whether it's by smelling your scent again, turning off your candle, burning sage again, kind of like closing out, clearing out what you just experienced and processed. And I love to end it with a little abracito. Okay, so give yourself a little abracito. Basically, you cross your arms and you can squeeze your shoulders, squeeze your arms, squeeze your wrists and your hands. Give yourself an abracito, love on yourself, take a deep breath, and then you can close that space out. And I think that that is, just a good way to transition your body into, okay, we're done here. Thank you. I love you. And then you can go on with your day or go on to sleep or whatever is next for you. Okay. So next, I'm going to walk you through a small, short visualization. If you haven't done the grounding practice or grounding into the roots episode that I did, I recommend that one. That was a visualization también, connecting us first gens together. But in this one, I'm going to walk you through what I call a body scan. And now that I've kind of walked you through when you feel what you feel in your body, what to do, it's gonna be helpful because now you kind of have some tools of how to manage what you're experiencing as you're doing a body scan. Okay. So if you are able to, if you're in a space where you can have some uninterrupted time for the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes, then continue to listen into this. If not, you can come back to this episode whenever you do have that time. But I'm going to recommend that you are barefoot if possible, or at least just not with shoes on, and that your feet are touching the ground for this next part of this video. And you can do this in your day-to-day when you show up to your space. In that website that I'm going to share with you guys, ahí hay un como body scan on its own so that you don't have to go through this whole episode. You can do that there. But being that those of you listening have gone through this whole thing with me, I think it would be beautiful to end it with a body scan and for you guys to kind of be able to tap into and ground into your body for now. So if you feel comfortable, then go ahead and put your feet on the ground, kind of get into a secure pose with your back straight and your legs that could be a little bit open if you want, just that makes you feel como secure and sitting down and present. And go ahead and close your eyes. You're going to start to pay attention to how your body feels. Right now, as I'm paying attention, my right knee feels a little bit activated. And so, okay, I'm taking note of that. And I'm going to start to also deepen my breath a little bit. Nothing too intense yet. I'm just going to pay attention to my inhale and my exhale. And I'm going to start to notice, like, what else do I feel in my body? Right now, I feel some tension in the middle of or in between my shoulder blades. Okay, so maybe I'm going to just kind of stretch them out a little bit. I feel really grounded on my seat, which feels good. My bottom feels kind of really secure. So that feels good. And I'm going to start just kind of rubbing my knee a little bit just to see if that can ease that sensation. And with your eyes closed, you're going to start to bring your attention, your awareness to the bottoms of your feet. So you can wiggle your toes, kind of like spreading them out, wiggling them out, and that will usually help all of your attention, all of your awareness come to the bottom of your feet and start to feel what that feels like. Does it change the way that your feet feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel weird? Does it feel tingly or cold all of a sudden or really warm? You don't have to change it. You're just noticing here. And before you do anything else, we're going to keep our energy, our awareness here in the present at the bottom of our feet. But you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. One more time, in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. And just allow your breaths to be a little bit deeper. They don't have to be that deep, but allow your breath to stay here, present in the moment. And just adjust the position that you're sitting in if you need to, because we're about to start the body scan. So keep your eyes closed. And you're going to bring your awareness again to the bottom of your feet, and you're going to start moving that energy, that awareness up. So picture that energy moving up through your ankles or to your ankles. And I want you to picture an infinity sign connecting your left and your right ankle. And your energy and your awareness flowing through that infinity sign, swirling through it. And notice how it moves. Does it move fast or slow? Is it expansive or contained? Does it have a color? Is it white or yellow or blue or red? What are you sensing? And now you're going to start to move that energy up from your ankles. Release that infinity sign. Just pay attention to your individual energy. Move it up from your ankles to your calves, up your legs to your calves, all the way up to your knees. And now I want you to picture circles. So on each leg, on each knee, your energy is going to start to move in circles. Notice if it's moving in the direction, if it's clockwise or if it's counterclockwise, if it's neat or if it's messy, if that has a color or not. And then you're going to move that energy up your thighs, all the way up to your hip area. And notice how your energy is moving now. Is it easier for you to move your energy? Is it easier than it was in the beginning? Is it slower or quicker? Is it a million different particles, or maybe it moves fluidly like water? And now you're going to allow that energy in your hip area to move however it wants. See if it spreads out or if it's contained, if it goes to one side of your hip or then to the other, if it wants to contract or if it wants to expand. But because we're about to enter our abdomen, our lower belly, then I want you to sit with this energy here on your hip area, on your bottom, your hips, and allow for it to do what it needs to. And then I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and let that air expand all the way down to your hip area, and exhale. One more time, in through your nose, all the way down to your hip area. Allow for it to expand that area, and then exhale. One more time, in through your nose, all the way down to your hip area. Expand and exhale. Beautiful. And now we're going to move up. So move your energy up through your stomach. It's going to go up your lower abdomen to the top of your stomach. We're going to stay here for a little bit. So many of us hold so much here. I want you to notice what color your energy is in this area of your body and what your energy naturally wants to do. Does it activate anything? Maybe it's areas that feel a little bit more constricted. Does it want to expand or shrink? Does it want to swirl, or is it stuck? I want you to bring your two hands and place them over your stomach. Just rub on it a little bit. Bring yourself a little bit of comfort as you're allowing yourself to pay attention to this space and area of your body. And then we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose, allowing it to expand our belly, and then exhale. One more time, in through our nose, all the way down to our belly, connecting us to our energy, and exhale. One last time, in through your nose, all the way down to your belly, connecting you to the energy that is there, circling every corner, and exhale. Breathe normally. You can bring your hands, continue to kind of bring comfort to that area. And when you're ready, you can start moving your energy up to your chest. Okay. If your energy has made it all the way up to your chest, to your shoulders, allow that energy to expand you and your position, posture. And picture your energy moving from the left all the way to the right, from the right all the way to the left, from the left to the center, and from the center, it's going to expand to the left and the right at the same time. If you need to take a deep breath for that, take a deep breath. Allow for your energy to flow through, again, from your left to the right, from the right to the left, and from the left, take a deep breath in, hold it, center your energy at the center of your chest, and once you exhale, that energy is going to go all the way over your shoulders, into your elbows, down your arms. Are you ready? Exhale out. Breathe normally. Notice how that feels. If it brought warmth or comfort to your shoulder blades, to your arms, to your elbows. Notice if the energy made it all the way down to your fingertips or just your wrists or your hands. Go ahead and wiggle your fingers. Allow for the energy to make it all the way to your fingertips. And just sense the warmth, the comfort that is coming through as you allow for it to kind of be like a blanket over your shoulders, your arms, your hands. And then allow for that to be a cooling blanket, something that brings you a balanced temperature. Notice how the temperature that you sense changes. And when you're ready, you're going to bring the energy back up to your shoulder blades and center it to your neck, to your throat. Move that energy up your throat. And notice how that moved. Did it move quickly or slowly? Did it change color as it was moving through your throat? Did it soothe your throat or irritate it? And then you're going to bring that energy up to your nose and to the top of your head. And take a deep inhale in here or here. One more time. Inhale up in and exhale. Breathe normally. Keep your energy, keep your attention at the top of your head. You can place your hands on your forehead, on the top of your head if that helps. Notice what sensations you're feeling. Is your head tingly or warm or cold, energized, drained, heavy? What does it feel like? And in a second, you're going to allow your energy to move all the way above you, on top of your head. You're going to picture it growing within a balloon, a golden light growing in a balloon on top of your head. And when it feels good enough, you're going to pop it and allow your energy to just fall down your body like a waterfall, all the way down from the top of your head to your shoulders, to your knees, to your ankles, to your toes, to the bottom of your feet. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Start to bring your awareness, your attention to your breath, to the present, to the now. You can wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, start to stretch. Bring yourself back to the present moment. You can roll your neck. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. I hope that felt good to you. I hope that grounded you for this moment. Thank you so much for being up, for trying this if this is your first time. And if it's not, I hope that you had a pleasant experience doing this body scan. I personally feel like body scans are so powerful in connecting you, to your intuition, to your body's wisdom. And so I recommend that you do one whenever you can, whenever it feels good. And remember that this is always accessible to you. You are always able to do something for yourself like this to ground yourself. And if you haven't and if you feel safe doing so, I recommend that you share it with your loved ones. There are many of us out there that don't have an idea that we have access to this relaxation tool, to this grounding tool that allows for us to come back to the present moment, reset for a little bit, and ground. Okay, first gen. Beautiful soul, human that belongs here as much as anyone else. Te mando un abrazote. I love you so much. I hope that this episode was helpful. And if you want to do one-on-one work with me, I do have sessions available. You can find more information in the description. I will also be co-hosting a space for these moments, for processing some of what's going on in these moments, where we're going to be sharing, we're going to be grounding, and be in community, which is super important. So I'm going to host something online, and I'll also be including the information in the description. So there's a lot and plenty for you to check out in the description today. Please make sure that you head there and that you take whatever you need, that you access that website with mindfulness practices, that you sign up for this event or this space holding within community. It's at no cost. Or if you want to get yourself a deck, pues eso sí te va a costar. But I'll also leave the link in the description for that. But like I said, les mando un abrazote. Please take care of yourself. Be safe out there as much as you can be. And I think that's it for now. Okay, cuídense mucho. Bye.